They say mothering is a biological act. I say it's a strategic one. The intentional choice to nurture a dream and protect a lineage. But how do we protect that lineage when the systems built to care for us, our health systems, often leave us feeling dismissed or invisible? Today we find out. Let's go. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Women of Color Live, the live version of Women of Color, an intimate conversation, a top 20 best women's empowerment podcast. We center and empower women of color. We also have a community for Black women 50 plus, the Dream Lifestyle Collective. So shout out to our production team at the Leon Thomas Group. And it's May, and we're continuing our May series, She Who Mothers, Redefining Legacy, Love, and Lineage, with today's guest, Muji Bekomson. She is a medical laboratory scientist and founder and visionary of FEMME Health Companion. Muji is checking in from Nigeria. So let's go. Welcome to the show, Muji.
Hi, Deneen. I'm so happy to be here. And greetings from Nigeria.
Yes, I am so happy to have you. And so Muji and I are connected on LinkedIn, and she said yes. And so we are here because, as you know, you may or may not know, this podcast, this live is global. We are global. We've been global for a number of years, and I love to have guests who are outside of the U.S. Come and speak with us. So for those who are watching, drop WOC. If you are a part of the Dream Lifestyle Collective, drop Dreamer. If you're a family or friend, drop a heart, because we want to know you're out there and we want those questions. So drop those questions so we can engage. All right. So Muji, you were told by a doctor to just get pregnant to escape your symptoms. As a scientist who did that moment of personal dismissive, how did that moment of personal dismissal shift your vision from what is possible in tech to what is absolutely necessary for women?
Thank you, Deneen. It's not an experience that I like to relive, but I'm forced to, anytime I talk about the vision behind the FEMME Companion, it took me every ounce of courage to finally sit across that doctor and talk about my symptoms, how my body felt, how my periods make me feel, coming from and living in Nigeria and in Africa, where these kind of conversations are more of a taboo. I found the courage to ask questions and speak about it. And I was not given the solution. Instead, I was offered disappearance. And he looked at me and smiled and said, just get pregnant and escape it. I thought he was joking, but he said it again. And then I just went silent. I had no answer for him that day, but I do now. Because as a scientist, I may not have known what to respond, but I knew that this cannot be the solution. I am more of a colleague, right? And if he could say this to me, then I can only imagine what other women who have no medical background, who don't even know what is going on or what should be expected, what they have to deal with every day, how they have to live through this with dismissal and having their whole symptoms reduced to reproduction, right? He didn't even bother to care if I wanted to get pregnant, if I could even get pregnant. It was just get pregnant, just get pregnant. And then I started asking other women about it, sharing my experience. And I found that it was a women's problem. It was not about being in Nigeria or in Africa. Women all around the world get the same dismissal, get the same response, get the same cold system thrown at their faces when they want to seek help or when they ask questions about their bodies, their hormones, and their periods. So I felt we should do something that supports women, because medicine, traditional healthcare systems are just not enough anymore. That was how FEMME was born, right? I did not need another doctor. I did not need another prescription. I just needed a companion, someone who will say, yes, what you're feeling is true. This is what it means. This is what you need today. This is what you need tomorrow. This is how you can go through it. Not dismissal, not more clinical jargon. So I created FEMME to fill in that gap. And that's how we are here right now today. We started and we made it accessible on WhatsApp so that any woman anywhere can get it, irrespective of her financial status, whether she could afford to download an app or not. And yeah, so that's what led me here. And I'm not grateful for that experience, but I'm happy that I could turn that to something meaningful and something useful. So rather than burn things down, that was my villain origin story. But I decided to build instead of burn things down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right. It's not just a issue in Nigeria or even Africa. It's definitely global. And we had a conversation a few weeks ago with Dr. Sharu, who, she works in this field. And, she said some of the same things that you said. And we talked about how, we do need to take charge of our health. We need to take charge of our bodies. We need to get in tune with our bodies so that when we're going to see a doctor and we're saying, hey, I'm experiencing this, that, and the other, and that's not right, and to push back, which is what you did. So we didn't talk about some of the symptoms. Do you mind sharing? Because I'm sure that other women either maybe going through the same thing and or potentially have gone through the same thing. Like, what were some of the symptoms that, caused you to say, no, hold up, wait a minute. This is not right. And no,
Yeah.
just getting pregnant is not the answer.
So I used to be very weak during my periods. I would cry on the floor, roll on the floor throughout the night. Painkillers were not working. And most times I would be stooling, I'll be vomiting, lose appetite. It would completely pause my whole life, right? Throughout the 4 or 5 days of my period. And so in university, it got worse. I had to miss classes because of the pain and the mood swings, which no one ever believed. You just felt like I was being dramatic. What do you mean you're on your period? So you don't feel like, you get me? And so that's what many women experience. And it sounds like we are just making things up, but this is real. This is about our hormones. Chemicals in the body are just acting up and messing everything up and not being crazy or being dramatic. So as a young girl, I mean, I'm 24. That was 2 years ago. I was 22. I had to deal with all of this pain, and my mother dealt with it, and she had nothing to do for me. What she said was, this is what women go through. It's how it is. And I don't blame her, because that's what she was told. And that's
Yeah.
what the women before her have been told. And we just keep passing it on, and no one is stopping to say, no, how can we actually help? Right? So I I just did not want to deal with it. That's what I knew. But I was not really looking for an escape from the situation, right? It's not like I didn't want to menstruate again, or I wanted to stop being a woman. I just needed to be heard and to be supported, right? Most times you don't even need the painkillers. You just need someone who sits with you and say, it's fine, this is what is going on. That awareness alone is really powerful, knowing that this is happening because of this, and this is what I can do to manage it better next time. That was all I needed. I mean, I'm not asking for too much. Yeah.
And you know what? And if you are, so what? Who's to say something is too much? And that's another thing, women, we need to get away from that. Like, if you have a little, bump, something is just not right, speak up. Whatever it is, we have to speak up more, because like you said, it's generational. It was just passed down. Like your mom, oh, that's just what we deal with, because her mother said the same thing, and then her mother. And if you hadn't, stood up and used your voice, then you would have passed down, when and if you chose to have a child, and if it's a girl, it would have just continued. So thank you for creating something, right? People say a test from a testimony, your test turns into that. And so your experience turned into what you created and how you're impacting other women. So good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you describe invisible tech as support that fits into a woman's life rather than becoming another thing to manage. And you treat solidarity and empathy as technical requirements, not soft skills. How does that philosophy change not just what we build, but who we build it for?
Yeah. So you know something, being an African woman, being young, black and African, I have lived through a lot of stereotypes. People see you and just put you in a box before even listening to you or knowing about you better. And I feel like that was what played out a lot with women's health. That's what is playing out with women's health a lot. Most femtech apps, most products, most women's health products have already put the women in a box before even getting to know them, before even understanding what they are dealing with, right? Every day we hear them talk about using for the average user. But then I keep asking myself, who is the average user? There's no average user, right? Every woman does not have the same at the same time, does not have the same energy, does not have the same mood. Our schedules are different. The things we can afford to do today are different, right? So when you
Mhm.
hear people, you hear tracking apps or you see influencers share advice like take 1,000 steps every day, drink a smoothie every day, they assume that we all have the same capabilities. They assume that I and Deneen are both free to take 1,000 steps every day, but not always possible. Most women are mothers, they are juggling careers, juggling family, juggling kids, juggling a lot of responsibilities, and they cannot take 1,000 steps every day. It's not because anybody is lazy or it's not care about their health, it's just their reality, right? Not everyone can afford to eat protein, take protein smoothies, chicken for breakfast, and all of that. Not everybody can afford to sleep 8 hours every day, right? But health apps, health influencers, health products try to create these unrealistic standards and make you feel like if you cannot attain them, you're not doing enough, or you are slacking, and that is what pushes most women away from all these tracking apps and all these femtech apps, trying to track your cycle, track your movements, track how much protein you ate, how many steps you took, track how much you are following the rules and regulations in quotes. But then I have been speaking to women and I found out that all of these things don't actually fit into real life. This ideal perfect woman we are creating and building products for does not actually exist, right? So I now felt, what can we do that can support women where they are? The busy ones, the ones who have messed up days, because it's okay to have a messed up day. It's okay to not have yourself together. It's okay to have a messed up schedule and not be able to do all of these things to stay healthy, right? So it's real life. It's not because they are not doing enough. It's not because they are inferior in any way. It's just real life. So we decided to create something that focuses on reality rather than tracking. People that use the FEMME Companion tell me that they love it because there are no streaks to keep. Because a busy woman who is dealing with hormones, dealing with kids, dealing with family, does not have the time to keep streaks. In fact, when she finds out that she has missed a streak, she will rather get discouraged and
Mhm.
quit the app completely, right? So we decided to make it feel like a safe space where every day your companion just sends something that can help you that day. And if you can't meet up with that because of your schedule or your energy, maybe you just don't feel like it, which is okay. The companion suggests something else that can meet you where you are. Some days just opening your curtain is enough, right? So the idea is to take simple steps that can help your hormones and your body work together, not your body working against your hormones. And the most important thing is that it fits your real life, because no matter how great the plan for your health is, no matter how great the prompts and the nudges are, if it doesn't fit your real life, we are still going around in circles, right? You still feel defeated at the end of the month when you have not been able to keep up with the streak or with whatever expectation that you have been given. So rather than tracking you, collecting data, gathering data that you don't even understand. We just sit with you through it every day and help you take a tiny step, no matter how small. And the days when you can't take a step, waking up is enough, right? So yeah.
You know what? I love that. And so several things come to mind when you're talking. First of all, you mentioned about the capabilities and how we're different and not everybody can for numerous reasons, right? It could be physical, it could be your schedule, so on and so forth. And what it also reminded me to say when I said, hey, go to your doctor, tell your doctor any little thing that's going on, that's a privilege to be able to go and see a doctor. So I want to acknowledge that, right? Because not everybody has health care. Not everybody is able to go see a doctor. So that's another value and benefit of what you're providing. The other thing too is you're absolutely right about the whole tracking. So some people, we're motivated by when we see those badges, right? Because, oh, you tracked your whatever for 10 days straight. Let's give you a badge. Like, I'm one of those people. I love to see that. And at the same time, it can get discouraging. Like, like for an example, I'm using Duolingo for Spanish. I had 176 days. Right now I'm mourning. Lost my cousin last week. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like being held to that. So I'm back at 0, right? And I'm okay with it because I started thinking, I'm like, this tracking this, tracking that, like, really, what is the point of it? I mean, it serves a purpose. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It keeps you on track. But by the same time, it's like, okay, I don't need to spend my energy on this. I'm going to do the thing or I'm not going to do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go back to tracking and whatever when I feel like it. But the point is, it's okay that I'm not, right? Life, will continue whether I track or not. So I love that you said that. And I love, that you have that companion who's sharing like, okay, here's what, here's a little thing you can do today. And the little things build. The more you do the little, they become bigger. And that's something that we don't focus on enough. We focus on just the big thing, right? As opposed to the little thing. And really, when I was on my, healthcare journey, as far as, okay, I want to lose weight, whatever, it was about doing things, either doing more of or less than what I was doing before. Right. So like you said, the steps, they say to get so many steps in a day. Well, if I was getting only 5,000 steps, then 6,000 is big. That's an increase. Right. So celebrate that. Right. As opposed to, man, I didn't get in those 10,000. No, I got in more than I typically would. So celebrate those small things. So I love everything that you just said about that.
Thank you so much. You're totally right.
So Muji, for the woman who has felt dismissed, as we've talked about, by the healthcare system and is tired of fighting for her own well-being, how do we use tech to reclaim our power and peace? And hold that thought. We'll be back after this break. All right, so welcome back to Women of Color Live. We are talking tech, empathy, and redefining health support with Muji Bekomson. And we're still waiting on y'all to drop your questions, comments, because I know that there's someone out there who has experienced what we're talking about, whether in the past, whether currently, and or knows someone. And you know what? Unfortunately, you may just experience this at some point as well, especially with the current state of things. It's very possible that you will be dismissed, right, when you're sharing a health concern. So Muji, before the break, I asked, how do we use tech to reclaim our power and our peace? Let's answer that.
All right. So thank you very much for that question, Deneen. I hear a lot of women talk about waiting for permission, waiting for the right time to take the step that they need to take.
All right, for those who are watching or listening, thank you so much for your patience through this episode. This is a great conversation. Unfortunately, I don't know, the universe doesn't want us to be great today, doesn't want us to really get into this and finish the conversation. But so far, what we talked about has been very inspiring. It's definitely should light a fire under some of us to take ownership of our health, to, speak up, speak out, and get what we need for ourselves. Don't let a person dismiss what we're feeling, how we're feeling. Again, if we don't like what's being said to us, then go and seek someone else out. Muji Bekomson, she has an app. It's FEMME. She's through FEMME Health Companion. Her information will be in the show notes. So reach out to her, get connected with her WhatsApp, get in there and, get that support. It is free. And it's just another way that you can take ownership of your health, of how you're feeling, of how you move through life. So again, I want to thank you. I hate that we couldn't finish the conversation because we had some more things to talk about, and she was going to get into, reclaiming our power and our peace using tech, and a few other things that I wanted to bring up as well. But again, tech is tech, and we can only do so much. So what we talk about is permission, and Muji was starting to talk about permission. You don't wait for permission, you become it. And when you become it, everything rises to meet you. That's the Dream Lifestyle Standard. And if you're ready to live it, join us inside the Dream Lifestyle Collective. We provide the strategy, sisterhood, and structure for Black women 50 plus, ready for their next chapter. And so we want to thank Muji again for trying her best to communicate with us, to share what she's doing, and how she, can continue to support us. Again, you'll be able to connect with her. We'll have her information. So share this episode with a woman who is done being dismissed and ready to demand more. And we'll be back next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern with Violet Omotosho. Thank you and see you next time. And thank you to the Leon Thomas Group.